Happy Thursday. Welcome back. Ashley Duell here, joining you this Thursday, and Natasha Velez.
Hello, everybody.
So, we are talking about, or actually, not even much talking, more showing you
Mhm.
this evening how to effectively search SAM.gov for opportunities. And spoiler alert, it's not always going to be by a NAICS code. So, we are going to do this one a little bit differently. And the point to it is because, in thinking about the different phases of what you guys go through when you're responding to these opportunities, what we all go through essentially when we're finding, qualifying, and bidding. And because I have more of a capture background, and Natasha has more of a proposal background, we're kind of going to take turns so that you can see as we're thinking out loud, going through these opportunities, you can see exactly what our thought process is, what factors we're paying attention to, and how that is playing in our decision. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Would you like to go first, Natasha?
Sure. Well, maybe we capture first. We capture
Capture
and
first. All
then,
right, let's
yeah, let's
capture.
capture an opportunity and let's decide why it benefits us. Let's try, you want to do like maybe services, maybe some, I don't know if you had a NAICS code in mind, but something
Let's search by
services.
NAICS
HR is
code.
pretty big right now. HR is one.
That is going to be one thing that I will die on this hill, you guys. I do not look for opportunities by NAICS codes. And this is my account, so I'll be happy to show you, the search criteria. But 9 times out of 10, there's no NAICS codes in any of my searches. So for those of you that might be
That is
new,
common.
let me give you a sort of crash course on all the things that you can kind of do in SAM. You've got your regular search, your data bank, which you can pull reports. Now,
Mhm.
this same data is in fpds.gov. That's where it sources from. So the data itself is going to multiple different places. So the data bank sources from FPDS, which is also the same source from that USA Spending utilizes. So it's kind of the same data in a different system. And you have your data services, to connect your API. But for this use case, we're really just going to focus in the opportunities, the search area. So contract opportunity is what most of us are looking for.
Yep.
And there are different kinds of opportunities, meaning, different kinds of notices that you'll see in SAM will represent kind of where an opportunity is in the procurement cycle, if that makes sense. So, like your RFI sources thought is after the need has been determined, but before the competition phase begins. So, if you wanted to look at just the opportunities that are available that you have the opportunity to engage early with, and as part of capture, ideally, if I'm the capture manager and we're going after an opportunity and we've got 20 this month we're working on, and 21 comes across my plate, if I haven't had a meeting with the client or the customer, I'm probably not going to bid on that opportunity. So it's really just about being smart and increasing your win rate. So if I'm looking for early opportunities, I'm going to be looking at sources sought, pre-solicitation, even
Mhm.
special notices. I like special notices because, like, it's where you find all the events that are coming up, the industry days for soup. I believe that
Yep.
one was just rescheduled. I was registered and I got an email. So if I just want to look there, and you said, so for services, Natasha, you wanted to use which service?
Let's do some HR,
All right.
human resources.
I am not using a code.
She's
And one
not
of the
you.
reasons that I don't use codes, I NAICS codes really, it kind of depends on who's doing the buying, what code they're going to use. It depends on the budget that they have. So,
So to just clarify what Ashley is saying, she does not use NAICS codes because maybe 70% of the people that are creating the solicitation and posting this information on SAM.gov may or may not know what NAICS code it belongs to. There are so many NAICS codes. So more times, and very common, they put it under the wrong NAICS code, which doesn't allow you to find that opportunity, right? And that I will also put in for a capture and BD perspective is always sometimes can be a good thing, because that means if your competition is not utilizing keywords and they're using only NAICS codes, they're not going to see that opportunity that you just found with a keyword. Just my 2 cents.
And from the government standpoint, if I wanted to reduce my pain and agony and it was a simplified acquisition that I could quickly award, I'm not going to put it under the code that you're expecting me to put it under. I'm going to put it under something else so it can fly under the radar.
Yes.
At the
You
end of
want to
the
make it
day,
really hard. Not only do you want to increase your win rate, you want to lower your competition's win rate. You
right?
want to make it hard for them to find it. You want to make it hard for them to bid on it. So whatever makes it difficult for them, whatever leverage you have in the opportunity, utilize it. So yes, keywords are essential.
And this is really the phase. So we're looking, guys, at just sources sought, pre-solicitations, and special notices right now. Sources sought is the opportunity that you have to influence that acquisition. So, like Natasha said, if you're trying to eliminate your competitors from being able to bid, your differentiators become wildly important in this phase of the procurement cycle.
Yep.
Whether that's demonstrating best value, I had an experience where I was looking at something and it went from RFI straight to award as I was preparing my response. It sometimes happens that way. I didn't cry about it. I just moved on to the next one, right? That's what we do. So, looking at the sources sought, I'm going to kind of go through. First thing I notice is it's HHS. I have been all over HHS for probably 3 years now. So it is an agency I'm very familiar with. Let's go in and see. Now I'm just going to kind of walk you through my thought pattern. I always look at the office. Do I know any humans in that office? Have I had a meeting with them already? Do I know anything about this requirement? I'm going to see the phase that it's in. It's not yet a solicitation. It was published March 28th, due about 30 days later. That gives me plenty of lead time.
Mhm.
There is no set aside listed. 9 times out of,
Which
well,
is
I wouldn't
great.
say 9 times out of 10, but a majority of the time, more often than not, I'll say, when you see this, it's because the set aside hasn't been determined. So that's one of the reasons the government is putting out the sources sought notice, is to see, hey, are there enough small businesses or woman owned businesses or 8As that can fulfill this need?
Which I will add is a great opportunity for you to mention that you are a woman-owned business or a minority-owned business or an SDVOSB, and you can make the suggestion that they put it out as an SDVOSB, which eliminates a good portion of your competition that's not certified in that.
Rule of two, right? If you're SDVOSB and you think that maybe nobody found this because it's under miscellaneous ambulatory health
Yeah, I
services.
know. I know.
You can pull in someone, hey, Mr. SDVOSB friend over here that does similar to what I do. Could you submit a response to this source of sought notice?
Mhm.
Rule of two. So two SDVOSBs respond. That gives the government what they need to be able to justify setting that aside, because
Yes.
there's more than one SDVOSB that reasonably can do the work.
Mhm.
And again, we want to follow the instructions, right? We want to follow the instructions. Here's the background. You're pretty much going to have an instructions to offer section. And I'm skipping ahead a little bit because I want to focus on the instructions. What do we do with this? How do we respond to it, right? And this is quite a lengthy one. Now, remember, guys, our keyword was human resources. So part of what I would do if I were seriously considering this is I would be doing a control F. Where does human resources appear in this opportunity? Where is my service is going to be being utilized? That's going to determine whether I need to bring in a teaming partner. All right, so here's our instructions. There is a Q&A period, which is interesting for a source of sought notice. Questions shall be
That is
submitted. Phone calls will not be accepted. Now, because we see this Q&A period, and tell me if I'm crazy, Natasha, my spidey senses tell me that it's very possible that this might be one that could
Go into
maybe not
straight.
make it to solicitation.
Yeah, I think it's gonna do a sole source award. Um, most of the time, not most of the time, well, a good portion of the time, um, I'll find sources sought that are, I wouldn't say desperate, but they're not getting bid on. And they're not, it could be also because of the NAICS code, but we won't go there. Um, they're not getting as many responses. So the government, it's like we have a quick turnaround time to get this awarded, and we don't have all this time to like do the solicitation, review proposals. So this is what we call sometimes a no bid win, right? This is where you don't even have to bid. If I've had plenty of these where I'll hit up on a source of sought, I'll write, I'll tell them and suggest, I can do the work. I have this much past performance. If you award it to a woman-owned small business, I'm happy to bid on it. And I'll get contacted by the contracting officer and do what's called a capability briefing. And they'll want to know about all the information I provided them. And we'll have a conversation. And if it deems, acceptable for them and it's within their budget, and we'll go ahead and price it for them, and we'll get what's called a sole source award. And then we'll get a special notice saying they just gave us the contract. So many times
Happen to
it,
clarify, that can't happen in all contracts,
oh
right?
no,
So nobody, I don't want to hear anyone saying, "Oh, well, they said over there that I can just have
it
this
doesn't happen for
5 year
everybody.
multi-million-dollar GWAC sole source to me because I asked for it."
No,
That's not exactly what we're saying.
within fair and reasonable constraints.
Right. Under simplified acquisitions, there are
Yeah.
certain set asides that have some sole sourceability rules.
Mhm.
So,
What's
we're
nice
giving you
about
the
that, I
reader's guide.
think, we have a lot of people that follow us that are real estate agents and do property
Mhm.
management and asset management. That is very common in asset management. Because there's a lot of need for transitional housing. There's a lot of need for travel, putting per diem travel where they're putting people in different hotels or Airbnbs or rentals, creating buildings. Right now, Alaska is really huge. We had one in Alaska where they sole sourced it to someone that we just sent them a source of sought, and the TSA sourced it him just from the sources sought he sent.
Might have been the only respondent.
He was the only one that responded,
I mean,
and
and
there's
that's the
not a lot
thing.
of places to put anyone in Alaska because these were
Right.
really remote locations.
Yeah, you've got,
He got a contract in like that. So it doesn't always happen. It's not always that
right.
miracle. Man, you lose 100% of the chances you don't take. So,
Yep, that's very true. And when we talk about how do we respond, like the instructions are right here. Consider
mhm,
this the instructions to offer section of a source's sought notice.
yes.
They're wanting to know your company information. There's nothing in the FAR that says that you can't respond late within reason. There's nothing in the FAR that says that you can't give them more than what they ask for, like suggestions on requirements. There's nothing in the FAR that states that you have to answer all the questions either. But if you don't answer the meat and potatoes and you don't give them enough to satisfy the need of the market research, you won't be considered as a viable source. So that's a little bit of a gray area that you could work through.
Mhm.
All in all, if I did this work, I would move forward. I would submit a response. But let's go back because I'm not going to spend too much time digging for the human resources part of that one. Tell me which one you want to look at, sort of for a walkthrough,
Well,
or do you
let's
want me to search a different way?
yeah,
Need a
let's
different
look for
filter.
an actual solicitation we want to bid
Okay,
on.
so we're gonna remove those. We're gonna select either combined synopsis solicitation or solicitation. We've
Mhm.
got human resources as a keyword. Do we want to use anything
Yeah, let's make it a
further
small
this?
business set aside.
All right, let's
I
do
think majority of our followers aren't large companies. I want some, now you're more than welcome to do a full and open bid, but to be perfectly honest, I like to focus on small businesses. It just makes it easier. If I'm gonna go after it, I want an increased P-win. So time is money. So I want to take a look at, let's do career life cycle management support.
All right. Hey, Diana, if you're watching, there's some interpreter services
Oh,
open right now.
do we
All
have
right.
someone that might benefit from that?
Absolutely. There's always someone that will benefit for that in our communities.
Actually, I think I'm going after this opportunity. Let's go after the interpreter one.
You want to go to the interpreter? Are you
I'm not
gonna
gonna
bid on this one?
I'm not gonna help you guys take my work.
Right? Yeah, we're certainly not gonna teach people how to bid against us, but
Yeah.
because what kind of fun would that be?
None. All right. Interpreter services. Perfect. First thing I'm looking at is it's from the VA. Do I have any business with the VA? Do I know the VA? I've been doing business with the VA forever, so I know how they work.
Do
So
you
I'm
know any
already like,
certified veterans that you could
yeah.
throw in for
You
incentive?
know, they always want either a small business or an SDVOSB. So small business set aside, perfect. I'm making sure that I have, look at that, translation, interpret services, make sure I have that NAICS code in my SAM registration. And then I'm gonna go and take a look. I never read the description. I get it. They do all the stuffs. I never read this. I just download all the attachments and I go through the attachments because all of that's already in the attachments.
This is the long story of the short version here. So which
Yeah,
attachment you
so
want me to
the
pop
two
open?
things I focus primarily on is the RFQ and the solicitation. So we can just click on the RFQ PDF, which is the second one down. There you go. And I do what just as a kind of like a proposal writer and just to kind of do like that whole formula in my head of what I'm going to go after or not. Um, I do a compliance matrix. It's just a very fancy way of putting together all the requirements so that you have a mental note, um, physically on form of everything that you have to do, right? Because compliance is everything. You could easily miss something and get thrown and have been the lowest bidder and the best one for the job, but you get thrown out because you missed a portion of the proposal that was a requirement. Um, so we want to be, we want to make sure that we follow all our requirements here. So I kind of review the description. I check the NAICS code, make sure I'm in there, and then I can see the supplies and services. So right there off the back, they have quantity, which I'm interpreting as probably hours. Um, each, this is what we call CLIN numbers. So each CLIN has 3,090 hours each. Or it could be employees. I'm not sure. They just say each, but we'll figure that out as we read
Yep,
more. I know
there will be more.
instantly the contract period is 1 year. So we have 1 year with an option of another year. So 2 years max. You have that it's going to begin on April 4th, which that's a pretty quick turnaround time.
That is a quick turnaround.
It's like right around the
When does this
corner.
baby
That's
do?
like next week.
When does this do? Oh,
That's fair.
updated
Okay.
offers due. So, oh, I thought this was okay. Anyway,
Yeah, they did an
makes
amendment
sense.
from what I can see, but we can still utilize. So this is
Yeah.
around the corner. After that, I kind of just keep going. The rest I'm not really looking at.
So I do a control F and I look for words like shall, must.
Do you?
Oh yes, absolutely.
I do.
And that's part of my qualification. Like if there's anything in shall or must that I can't do, then I'm gonna take a deeper look at it. Can I bring in a teaming partner?
Well, let's also acknowledge the fact that most of these are generic.
Very so.
most of them are generic and have nothing to do with the actual proposal, with the actual service itself that they're requesting. Most of the time, I'll find shall, required for products when it's a service-based contract. So I've learned that out of all 50 of these pages, I've wasted a lot of time reading them. So now I just I focus on the requirements and the scope of work to
Hmm.
provide and deliver what I need to, because I know negotiation wise, that will all be within the contract upon award.
The
But each his own. We all have our own ways of doing this.
well, the scope, section L and section M are the only things I'm really going to care about. I
Correct.
mean, like those are the three sections that I'm going to be
Hmm.
looking at to make my decision. But I am definitely going to be looking at shall, must in those sections, especially in IT when it comes to your analytics, your monthly reporting, because I might have to build the system that I use to be able to do the reporting on the thing. So
Hmm.
definitely a little bit of a different situation as far as compliance goes in that respect. Now, this is pretty much just,
Now we have these are the reps and certs. So the
yep, we're
reps.
used to these. Anyone
Mhm.
here doesn't know what reps and certs are?
Well,
Pop it
you
in the,
have them already. You should have them on your SAM registration. Hopefully everyone does, but
you do,
uh
but they not may not know them by that name. So
yeah.
if there's anyone here who essentially, if done correctly, your reps and certs being downloaded from SAM can be
Hmm.
submitted with your response
Pretty much
rather than you going through and checking all the boxes
all
manually.
over
So,
again.
yeah.
Yeah, it's super easy. So just, print
Now,
it, save it as a PDF.
is there anything else I haven't even gone? I know that this was only one of the six attachments I
I
think that we're
try to
gonna.
pay attention to the insurance requirements. I feel like a lot of people kind of miss that one. Like right there, you kind of have it.
Well,
General liability, automobile insurance. A lot of times you do have to, if you're in construction, a bid bond. The government lately is, it depends on what kind of government. A lot of cities and states, I will say, but also the VA at times will require you to have a bid bond, even on things that are not construction, that it could be service based. It's just because they're taking a lot of risk sometimes, especially if it's a small business set aside. They're taking a lot of risk. And so if they have a loss or you're not able to perform the work, they're guaranteed a certain percentage of their money back. So a lot of times, you'll have those requirements. Along with that, they'll also want, general liability. Sometimes if there's travel, they want to make sure that you are covered in automobile, professional liability, cyber liability. If you have IT, they just want to make sure that they're covered. And they'll ask for a certificate of insurance with their name on it. So sometimes that's a requirement that you don't want to miss. And they'll provide that minimum coverage and want to see it, not necessarily always upon award. Sometimes they want to see that you just generally have insurance now. So one not to miss there.
the only I've seen that really affect folks in construction, right? Because
Yeah,
in most of government contracting, when we respond to an opportunity, we either have to already have or have the ability to acquire.
yeah.
So if you're new to the space and you respond to the opportunity in a construction, we'll use that as an example, and
Mhm.
it's $1 million. And when the time comes to start the work, you can only get bonded to 500,000. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So for those industries that bonding is pretty much required, do be sure that you work your business up. Update your financials, make sure that your business credit is on point. Report whatever you have to whoever you have to make sure that when that time comes and you're ready to GC as prime, you're not pigeonholed into only bidding on contracts under your bonding level. I
Oh yeah.
once worked with
And
a
another thing,
in construction.
I've heard this a lot lately, where people are like, well, my subcontractor has it.
Mm-mm.
No, you have to have it. You're the prime. You have to have this. And so does your subcontractor with a COI to you, but you are required to have one as well.
Yes, absolutely. Not every industry is designed for someone to just insert themselves in. And some contractors are like, well, how do I do it then if the sub if I have to have it? Well, the sub basically has to bid as prime and you have to step out of the way. If, you have to be a sub to them if they have it and you can't get it, essentially.
Yeah.
So not
Yeah.
every contract is going to be perfect for you to bid on as prime. Sometimes you might have to be a sub. So,
Yeah, sometimes it works that way also with finance.
mhm,
Sometimes you'll find a FAR requirement in there where it'll state that they want to be able to see that you're financially able to handle this contract, and they want to see, 2 years of tax returns, or they want to see that they want to see a P&L statement. They want to audit it, P&Ls and balance sheets. They want to ensure that you are financially fit and not going to go out of business next week if they give you the contract, run away with the money.
yeah.
So, all those things. And I've had plenty of times where somebody has all the past performance and all the experience, but none of the financials. Um, and so they had to take a step back, be a subcontractor because they were not financially able to handle they wouldn't have won, not with their finances. So they had to take a step back and let their sub become prime.
And
It's just what makes, you know what I
that's
mean?
part of the
Works for both of,
strategy.
yeah,
I
it's just
think that's part of
strategy.
the excitement, right?
Yeah, it's
I
figuring it
mean,
out.
and for those of us who are super small or, started as solopreneurs, there's definitely something to be said for competimates in this
Yeah.
industry. Like, if you're working alone and you're at this alone, just I'm grateful just to have Natasha to bounce some things off of from time to time. Sometimes we're bidding with each other, sometimes we're bidding against each other. That's just the nature of the beast. One of us is
Mhm.
going to win it anyway. So, tackle it together. Don't be so adverse, but do make sure that you vet your teaming partners, guys. Don't
Yeah.
just pull someone out of SAM and say, "Ooh, I'm going to bring them in on this contracts because they got the right NAICS code." That doesn't work
Yes.
that way.
Yes.
So here's another trick. Um, if you're not, or if you get too much when you're using keywords, like we saw in that human resources search, try just
Mhm.
using the PSC code and kind of looking at the results that we have here. There's only four. They're exactly pretty much spot on to human resources services.
Mhm.
And that definitely eliminates a lot of the burden. Now, I kept it open this time. I didn't even select a type of notice. But so I got a combination of sources sought and solicitations. Now, if I wanted to save this search and come back to it, I want to make sure that I'm always looking into the future. I'm going to just select my offers due, my response date or offers due in the next 3 months. And that eliminates everything that might still be active
Yep.
that's not available for me to take action on, right? Now, let's say I like this search. I want to save it. I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to click save. I'm going to give it a name. And then let's say I want Sam to notify me when any activity happens on this particular search. I'm going to go to my save searches area.
Oh, look, she's already saving stuff. Look
Oh, I've had stuff in there. Like,
at her.
you should see my inbox. And then I'm just going to click notify. So now that notification's been turned on, every time something hits Sam that matches my search criteria, I'm going to get an email. It's
Yep.
a very generic email. It tells you the name of the search that matched. Now, I don't really want notified for that, so let me stop that. But that's one example, and I have a bunch of them in here. I'm searching for a lot of the same stuff, different ways,
Mhm.
to make sure that I catch anything and everything. So, is there anything else that we want to look at? Anybody that's joined us today? We have couple minutes left. We didn't have a whole lot of chatter in the chat box today, but I see some of you are watching. Thanks for joining us. So we are going to not be on next Thursday. We are both going to be traveling out of town. So we're going to be resuming on April 11th, which will be Disaster Relief Day. So
Yeah.
I'm really super excited. We'll have a special guest, former contracting officer and program manager at FEMA, to talk about what you can do now to start getting ready and geared up for disaster relief season, And, instead of waiting until the hurricane hits and then saying, oh, where do I go? So,
Yep.
well, thank you again, everyone. Thanks for Natasha for helping me out tonight and every Thursday. And we'll see you guys later. Take
Bye,
care.
guys.